Sharkie Gamer here. So today we're taking a look at the Dance Dance Revolution controller for the PlayStation 2. So you're looking at this and probably thinking, is this a full-size Dance Dance Revolution controller? And the answer to that is no. This is actually a mini DDR pad. And by mini, I mean mini. This is how small the box is. So this is a pretty small DDR controller for the PlayStation 2. So taking a look at the box, first up, this has got some artwork up the top there, sort of kind of DDR type artwork, and I think that's Japanese writing just there. And of course you've got an image of the actual controller inside. And also notice that this has no company logo. I'm not actually sure who actually makes this controller. On the sides it just says Dance Dance Revolution controller. And turning onto the back, it just sort of says, stay cool, show me your moves, and it kind of gives you a bit of a screenshot of the DDR game, and sort of a bit of how to play with this controller with the game. So no really distinguishing company logos at all, so no idea who actually makes this controller. The only thing it's got, it says DDR 108, which I believe is the model number for this. But other than that, it has no other company logos or anything. So opening up the box and taking a closer look at this controller. Okay, so you've got quite a long cable. It's got a PlayStation 2 connection on the end of it, so it should be long enough to go to your console. And as you can see, this is definitely a mini DDR pad. Your normal DDR pads are basically those huge dance pads that you're actually meant to physically dance on. This is meant to take the lazy way out and use your fingers instead. So instead of using the big dance mats, if you're tired, you don't feel like really dancing around and moving on those big mats, you get one of these, and that way you just give your fingers the exercise. So this is basically a finger pad for the DDR games. It's pretty small, as you can see. It fits into my hand. Very flat as well, very flat kind of profile. That's the back of it. It does have these little type of feet on it, so that way you can sit it onto a surface if you would prefer that. It does fit decently, but the cable does tend to pop it up, as you can see. But it does fit on a surface if you want to play it that way. But I'm guessing a lot of people with this controller, instead of using those feet, they'll probably just end up holding it. On the controller itself, up the top there, it says Mini DDR, of course standing for Dance Dance Revolution. The top row buttons here are your L1, L2, Select, Start, R2 and R1. And they are more of like rubber buttons. They're easy to press down, and they're on the top out of the way, so if you don't want to use them, you're not going to accidentally press them very easily. Moving down, you've got a cool logo in the center here that says Stay Cool, and of course down the sides here you got your X, circle, square and triangle, and these buttons press down quite nicely. What I do find with these particular buttons is that they more press down when you press the center of them. The thing is, it's very easy to press the side of them and not quite press them down. You can see it's sort of moving, but it's not really going down like when you press it in the center. And it doesn't make that sound when you hit the end as well. So unfortunately it's pretty easy to hit the end here, but as long as you hit the center, you'll know it'll go down every single time when you press it. Overall though, they're very nice kind of buttons. They do feel quite nice when you press them. Now going into the center here, you've actually got your directional buttons here. So of course you've got your normal directionals, and these are actually quite well made. They've actually sort of got like a almost like a metal kind of plate over them. It looks pretty cool. It's got a nice feel to it because it's got that kind of metal plate over it. And these press down nice and easily as well. Again, you can easily press the edges and they don't quite go all the way down, but if you press the center you can actually hear it, and it goes down. So the idea with this particular gamepad is that when you're playing, you're kind of pressing these buttons to play the DDR game. You can hold it whatever way you like, whatever way you more comfortable, I guess, to hold it if you want to hold it like this and to use the buttons. And of course you can get these if you need them as well. So really easy to play with your thumbs if you need to. And of course, like I said before, you can put it on a surface and play like this, so you're using basically multiple fingers to actually play, sort of pretending maybe these two fingers are your feet if you were actually dancing on a dance mat and using your fingers instead. The only thing annoying about on a surface is the way the cable sits. It tends to bounce. That's the only thing I don't really like about putting on a surface. Like I said, you can also use your thumbs as well. I guess it comes down to whatever's comfortable for you. But there's another cool feature of this controller as well. And I'm just going to plug this in to some power so I can actually show you this. So once it's plugged in and it's getting basically normally plugged in to your console, when you press the center buttons, they actually light up. So you can see there, they actually light up when you press them. And it's only these center buttons, these buttons don't light up, but all these center buttons here, they all light up when you press them. So you can imagine if you press them a lot of times, they're going to light up. And this way also, especially if you have it on a surface or something, you know when you've actually pressed that button. So it does give you a little bit of feedback, so you know you've actually successfully pressed the button. So it looks pretty cool. So just a little bit of feedback, and it does look pretty cool when you're playing as well. And the good thing about the light is you know when you've pressed it. If you don't press it hard enough, it doesn't light up. So it's not triggering it. If you press it hard enough in the center, it'll actually light up. You can see there, if I press on the side, it's not triggering it right. Pressing the side, it lights up as well. So it also gives you a little bit of feedback knowing that you've pressed that button correctly. So this is a pretty cool little Dance Dance Revolution controller. It's not your traditional dance mat. Most of the DDR controllers you're kind of used to are those big dance mats that you actually physically dance on. And of course, if you think you're not really feeling like actually getting up and moving and you want to be a bit lazy, but you still want to play a Dance Dance Revolution game, then something like this is pretty cool, because then you get to use your fingers. So your fingers get the workout instead of your feet or your body. So you're working out your fingers. So it's a really good way for a lazy gamer that doesn't really want to use a dance mat, but still wants to play the DDR game and enjoy playing a rhythm game. So it is an alternative. It's pretty small as well, so it won't take up that much space. So if you're worried about a dance mat maybe taking up too much space, then maybe this is a good alternative for you. So you can still play the DDR games comfortably instead of using a gamepad. You can still play them very comfortably, and it won't take up that much space. You can just put this into your drawer when you're done. So it's a pretty cool little controller, very compact, very cool looking, and I do believe you can get these in different colors as well. I think they do come in like a black as well, and I think there's different colors. You also see like a beige kind of cream color as well, I believe, that's not quite as transparent as this, but there's sometimes different colors. But like I said, I'm not sure who actually makes these. There's no actual company name on the box that I can see. So they might just be like a cheap third-party controller that's been made, but they do the job. And like I said, the worst thing is if you press these kind of buttons on the edges, they might not trigger, but when you press them in the center, they trigger all the time. And they last up pretty good. They work pretty well with the DDR games. I've had no problems using this with DDR, so they work pretty well. With getting these, they can be hard to find sometimes. When you find a seller that has them, they're usually pretty cheap. The sellers that want like, you know, $80 for these things is just ridiculous. Don't buy them. You know, they should only be worth like maybe around the $20 mark, or maybe a little bit more depending on how much you want them. But you know, it's really hard to say because you don't see them that often. But they're usually called mini DDR pads or mini DDR finger pads or just DDR finger pads. So they do come under quite a few different names. I guess on the box it just says Dance Dance Revolution controller, but on the controller it says a mini DDR. So it comes under a few different names. But it is definitely a very cool DDR controller, and definitely recommended for the lazy gamer that doesn't want to use a dance mat. So it's a pretty cool little gadget, pretty cool controller. Anyway guys, that was the mini DDR controller for the PlayStation 2. Pretty cool little thing, very cool to play DDR games with. But anyway guys, thanks for watching. I am Sharkie Gamer. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll keep some more gaming controller and accessory videos up very shortly. If you like this video, hit that like button, really helps out a lot guys, and as always, feel free to leave a comment down below if you want to, as well as share the video as it helps spread my video around. Anyway guys, thanks for watching.